Marhaba. I am Kim with Gazelle English, and I'm so happy that our lives have intersected, that our paths have crossed. And I thought that I would take a few moments and introduce myself, share a little bit more about who I am and why I chose Gazelle English for the name of my teaching platforms. So again, my name is Kim. I live here in the Midwest, in the Midwestern region of the United States. I was born here in the Midwest, actually in the capital of Wisconsin, Madison, but I actually grew up on Long Island, New York. I would say I'm from Long Island, New York. I remember when I was in 5th grade, I was 10 years old, and a girl, I believe her name was Farinaz, she moved with her family from Iran, and she joined our class, our 5th grade class. And I was so fascinated, so captivated by Farinaz. I wanted to be her friend. I wanted to be with her on the playground. I insisted that she teach me how to count to 10 in her language. What is that in Iran? Is that Farsi? I'm not sure, but I did know at one time how to count to 10. Every other person, student in my 5th grade class, every other 10-year-old, I couldn't care less about them. Boring. But Farinaz, yeah, she was what it was all about. Well, a number of years ago, I had the opportunity to travel to Turkey. And they say that if you have never traveled to another country, and I had traveled to other Latin American countries, but I've heard that if you've never traveled, you shouldn't go to Turkiya first, because it's such a sensory overload. And I do have to say that it was a mind-blowing, amazing experience. Would you say mumtaz? I was so enthralled by the culture, the history, the rich ancient history. I loved the men on the streets playing backgammon and drinking tea, chai, as they call it in Turkey. The delicious, succulent lamb kebab. And I remember that when I was in Konya and visited Rumi's mausoleum and museum, the famous Sufi poet, I had the best lamb kebab in Konya. And then there was Antalya. Oh, Antalya. What a romantic city on the Mediterranean with the fuchsia bougainvillea. And I swam in the Mediterranean in May. It was a little bit chilly, but it was, what an experience. So gorgeous. And Istanbul. What can I say about Istanbul? I remember at night being not far from the Hagia Sophia in the Blue Mosque and eating at this delicious restaurant, eating outside at a table on the sidewalk outside the restaurant, having this delicious fresh fried fish and homemade bread and all of the delicious sides that they bring you in Turkey. And then the simit, the bagel-like pastries with the sesame seeds, and the Turkish breakfast and the Turkish food. And then the sites that we visited that have incredible significance biblically from my faith. I got to visit places like Ephesus, where some incredible things happened from the Injil, and Laodicea, which is mentioned in the last book of the Bible in Revelation. Jesus talks about Laodicea. And I can't forget Istiklal Street and the smell of women's perfume as crowds walked Istiklal Street, and just the electricity in the air. I remember visiting Topkapi Palace, I'm not sure if I pronounced that correctly, and the place where the sultans lived, and being enthralled by the stained glass windows and the polished black stone pathways and the tiles of every color, the roses that spilled over. And I had read that peacocks and gazelles used to roam freely in the courtyards and gardens of the palace. And those are two of my favorite animals. Well, when I came back to the United States and back to my small town in the Midwest, I have to tell you, it was really difficult. Turkey had stolen my heart. And have you ever heard the expression or the saying that once a heart has been stretched, or once a mind has been stretched, it cannot return to its original shape? That's what I felt happened to me when I went to Turkey. Well, fortunately, after about a year of being in this spiritual and emotional desert, I started to sense and feel the winds of change were coming, feeling that rain was coming on my spirit, on my soul. And I felt that God was speaking to me and that He was and is writing my story, and that I could trust Him, that all of the experiences I had in Turkey were a part of the story He was writing through me. I began to write more, and I started an allegory that has become very dear to me about a gazelle. I wrote it many years ago, and I have been working on it ever since, off and on. And I'm going to be really excited to share this story with you sometime in the coming year. And I will also be translating it, having it translated into Arabic. So I'm really excited to share the story of this gazelle with you. So I'm excited about that. One of the reasons that I chose to write an allegory about a gazelle is that as I learned that the gazelle was allowed to roam in the Sultan's palace in Turkey, I also learned that the gazelle is a beloved animal in Middle Eastern cultures, and I love her graceful beauty and gentleness, but also the fact that she's vulnerable and she has many predators that want to devour her. Yet, because of her speed, her swiftness, her agility, her ability to jump like a ballet dancer doing grand jetés over some of her predators, she can outrun most of her predators. She can leap higher than them. She's been known to leap over a lion as he was closing in on her. And I think that really spoke to me because, I believe that we all have an enemy of our soul, that we have a very real enemy. He's not the opposite of God, but he is evil, and he would love to destroy us, to devour us like a lion. And do you know that there's a verse in our holy book, in the Injil, and it says, that we should be watchful and alert because we have an enemy who prowls around like a lion seeking someone to devour. And so we are vulnerable. And I want to be like the gazelle. And I have heard that it can mean the time just after the sun comes up, just after a sunrise. I think that's so beautiful. Well, after that time in Turkey, my husband and I hosted a foreign exchange student from Turkey, Zeliha, and she lived with us for the entire school year. And she was such a joy and a delight to have around. She was so full of life, so funny, and we love her very much and miss her. I had the opportunity a few years ago to visit her and stay with her and her beautiful parents. And it was the summer when I taught English in Iraq. And it was a joy to stay in their home. Her father would go to the bakery, pick up fresh bread for our breakfast. And her mother is the best cook. And I would talk Zeliha into going with me to the local park and running. She didn't like me waking her up early, but she did it. And then within the next year or two, we hosted a foreign exchange student, Mohammed, from Jordan. And Mohammed was a joy. He had that typical Jordanian laugh, and he was such a go-getter. He was adventurous. He was willing to try new things. And I think he grew a lot during his time in the United States living with us. And now he's studying to be a doctor in Ordan in Jordan. And I'm so proud of him. Then a couple of years later, we had the opportunity to host Nazla from Indonesia. And Nazla is a beautiful, sweet, gentle girl who's studying to be a dentist. We always said that we are kindred spirits. It's made my life richer and more colorful. And like I said, I did have a chance to go to Iraq a few years ago, and I taught English to male and female math teachers, and that was such a gift. The people who I taught in Iraq were so humble and so gracious and kind to me. And they have been through so much, so much. They found a place in my heart and they will always be there. And then last year I started working for Cambly, and it's been a fun adventure connecting with students from around the world. Of course, I particularly enjoy when students call me from Saudi Arabia and the UAE and Turkey. And as much as I love Turkey, they don't speak Arabic, so I do prefer the Arabic speaking people who call. And as many of you know, over the last few years, I've been studying Arabic. On one of the apps that I use, it is Levantine or Eastern Arabic. So many of you have asked how I have a Syrian accent, and that's how. And then recently I've been studying on a couple of different apps that are more of the classical or standard, modern standard Arabic. And so now I know some of the words for both things, like keifa halik, keifa haluki, or kifik, kifak, kifkon. So I'm learning. I have a long way to go. I recently found a gentleman who teaches Arabic on YouTube, and I really have been enjoying him. Feel like I'm learning a lot. He has the gift of teaching. Oh. Looks like I have to add another log on the fire, so I should probably be wrapping this up. So, Gazelle English, here we are. I've been having such a fun time connecting with you and teaching the English language. So let's leap into learning. I promise I will always be gentle and kind and patient and gracious. And I'm excited for the journey ahead. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for listening. I'm so thankful for you.